The Mercy of Soul had never been designed for beauty. Its hull was a patchwork of modular sections, surgical bays, cryo wards, refugee quarters, all bolted to a central spine like vertebrae on some mechanical leviathan. No weapons. No armor. Just the red cross of old Earth painted 300 meters tall on its flank, visible from half an AU away. Dr. Elena Vargas stood in the observation gallery, watching the stars drift past in their ancient silence. Behind her, the ship hummed with life. Over 1,500 souls aboard. Refugees from the collapse of Kepler, 442. Burn victims from a mining accident on Titan's shoulder. A Vin matriarch in an induced coma after her colony ship had decompressed. 7 species, 14 languages, 1 mission. First, do no harm. She pressed her palm against the cold glass. Out here, 3 weeks from the nearest relay station, the Hippocratic Code felt less like a guideline and more like an anchor, something to hold on to when the void pressed too close. Dr. Vargas. A voice crackled through her earpiece. We've got a contact. Long-range sensors just lit up. Elena's stomach tightened. Identify. Unknown configuration. Heavy mass signature. Moving fast. She was already running. The bridge was chaos. Captain Idris Kane hunched over the holotable, his face bathed in red warning glyphs. Tactical Officer Mira Chen stood rigid at her station, fingers dancing across haptic controls. Range. Kane barked. 400,000 clicks and closing. Velocity. A pause. 12% light speed. Still accelerating. Elena stepped into the light. Is it Zan? No transponder. No hail. Chen's voice was flat. Professional. Terrified. Captain, that silhouette. I think it's a pirate dreadnought. The word hung in the air like a guillotine. Pirates. Not the romanticized corsairs of old vids, but scavengers, butchers, the kind who'd strip a hospital ship for parts and sell the crew to the biomarkets on Naka Station. Open a channel, Kane said quietly. Broadcast on all frequencies. Tell them we're a medical vessel. Unarmed. Protected under the Geneva Convention. The Mercy of Soul shuddered. Lights flickered. Somewhere deep in the ship, alarms began to scream. Missile impact on Section 7, Chen reported. Hull breach. Sealing now. Elena's fingers dug into the back of Kane's chair. Casualties. Unknown. Medbay 3 is gone. Chen's voice cracked. Captain, they're not stopping. Another impact. The deck lurched sideways. Elena caught herself against the console, tasting copper. Her vision swam. They're hailing us, Chen said. Put it through. The voice that filled the bridge was synthesized, genderless, utterly devoid of humanity. Medical vessel Mercy of Soul. You are carrying high-value biocargo. Surrender immediately, and we will permit your crew to evacuate in escape pods. Resist, and we will vent every compartment. You have 60 seconds to comply. Kane's jaw worked. High-value biocargo. They mean the patients. They mean slaves. Elena's voice cracked. They'll harvest organs. Sell the healthy ones to labor camps. Captain, we can't. I know. Kane met her eyes. His face was carved from stone. I know. The channel closed. Silence rushed back in, thick and suffocating. Chen spoke first. Sir, we have one asset. The debris clearing system. The mass driver. Kane shook his head. That's for moving asteroids out of approach lanes. It's not a... It's a railgun, Chen interrupted. Electromagnetic acceleration. Tungsten slugs. Mounted on the dorsal spine. If we overcharge it... A new voice came from the back of the bridge. You'd melt the rails. Probably crack the spine. But you'd get one shot. Every head turned. A man in grease-stained coveralls, utility belt sagging with tools. Marco Ruiz, debris technician. No rank. No authority. Just a welder who'd survived 2 tours in the Belt Wars and now spent his days clearing ice from docking clamps. He stepped forward. The fusion reactor, Ruiz said. If we reroute the entire output through the capacitor banks, bypass the safeties, we could accelerate a slug to maybe 20% light speed. Maybe more. Kane stared. That would melt the rails. Yes, sir. Probably crack the spine. Almost certainly, sir. We'd get one shot. One's all we need, sir. And if you miss... Ruiz smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Then we die knowing we tried. Elena felt something cold settle in her chest. She looked at the holotable, at the glowing red icon of the pirate ship closing like a tumor, at the 1,500 lives depending on her. On all of them. First, do no harm. But harm was already here. Harm had a name. Harm had guns. Do it, she whispered. Kane glanced at her. Doctor. I said do it. Her voice rang like a bell. We're not cargo. We're not victims. And I'll be damned if I let those butchers turn my patients into commodities. The captain nodded slowly. Mr. Ruiz, you have 30 minutes. Make it count. Ruiz grinned. A wild, terrible thing. Aye, sir. And the mercy of soul, unarmed and unarmored, began to bare its teeth. Marco Ruiz had been a welder before he'd been a soldier, and a soldier before he'd been a pacifist. Somewhere between the Belt Wars and the mercy of soul, he'd convinced himself those days were over, that the smell of molten steel and burning flesh could stay buried. He'd been wrong. Now he sprinted through the ship's maintenance crawlways, magnetic boots clanging on grated floors, dragging a plasma cutter and a toolkit that weighed more than he did. Behind him, 2 junior engineers struggled to keep up. Yuki Tanaka, barely 20, fresh from the academy, and Greaves, a belter whose augmented arms could rip bulkheads like paper. Ruiz, wait up. Yuki gasped. Where are we even going? Reactor control. Deck 9. That's restricted. Not anymore. He skidded around a corner, nearly colliding with a medical team rushing the opposite direction. A nurse shouted something. He didn't stop. The mercy of soul groaned around them. Another impact, distant, muffled. Somewhere someone was screaming. Focus. One problem at a time. They reached the reactor chamber in 4 minutes. Ruiz slapped his palm against the access panel. It blinked red. Denied. He swore, yanked a bypass shunt from his belt, and jammed it into the port. The door hissed open. Inside, the fusion reactor pulsed like a captured star. Magnetic containment fields shimmered blue-white, holding back temperatures that could vaporize planets. Ruiz had seen reactors before, everyone in the fleet had, but never like this. Never with the safeties offline and the output spiking into the red. Greaves, get the capacitor array online. Yuki, I need you to reroute coolant from the medical bays. All of it. But the patients. We'll die in 30 minutes if we don't do this. Move. She ran. Ruiz turned to the primary console, fingers flying over haptic keys. The debris clearing system wasn't designed for combat. It was a glorified slingshot, electromagnetic coils wrapped around a 12-meter barrel meant to shove rocks at walking speed. But the principles were sound. Accelerate mass, transfer energy, point, shoot. Except nothing was simple. The power requirements alone would drain the reactor dry. And if the magnetic bottle destabilized even a fraction, if the containment failed, the resulting explosion would turn the mercy of soul into a second sun. Ruiz. Greaves's voice boomed. Capacitors are live, but the breakers are screaming. We're already at 200% tolerance. Then get them to 300. That's insane. I know. Ruiz didn't look up. His hands were shaking. When had they started shaking? Trust me, Greaves. Just trust me. The belter stared. Then, slowly, he nodded. Aye. 20 decks above, in the cramped confines of the dorsal gunnery bay, Captain Kane watched the external feed. The pirate dreadnought Gilded Edict, its hull scarred and pocked with stolen weapons, loomed larger with every second. Already boarding pods were detaching from its flanks like metal spores. They're launching assault teams, Chen reported. 20 pods. ETA 6 minutes. Kane exhaled. Can we target them? Not with the main gun. They're too small, too maneuverable. We'd waste the shot. Then we wait. Dr. Vargas appeared at his shoulder. She'd changed into surgical scrubs, navy blue, splattered with something dark. Blood, maybe. Or hydraulic fluid. How's Ruiz doing? Don't know. Comms are spotty. Kane glanced at her. You should be in the surgical bay. I should be here. Her voice was steady, surgeon steady, the kind of calm you learned when lives hung in the balance. If this works, I want to see it. If it doesn't, she shrugged, then it won't matter where I am. A proximity alarm blared. One of the boarding pods slammed into the mercy of Sol's lower hull, clamping tight. Cutting torches flared. They're in, Chen said. Ruiz heard the breach alarm and felt his stomach drop. Not yet. Just a few more minutes. Yuki, status? Coolant's online. But Ruiz, the temperature curve. If we fire, the barrel will melt. Doesn't matter. One shot. Remember. What about us? We're sitting 20 meters from an overcharged reactor. He finally looked at her. Yuki's face was pale, eyes wide, but her hands were steady on the console. A professional. If we don't fire, Ruiz said quietly, the pirates will kill everyone on this ship, including us. So we fire. And we pray. She swallowed. Nodded. The reactor's hum deepened, resonating in his teeth. The containment fields flickered once, twice, then stabilized. On the readout, power output climbed past 300%. 350. 400. Ruiz, Greaves's voice crackled through the comms. I don't know how much more the coils can take. Just hold it together. I'm trying. An explosion rocked the ship. Ruiz grabbed the console to stay upright. Over the intercom, someone was shouting about hull breaches, about pirates in the corridors, about Ruiz. Captain Kane's voice cut through the chaos. We've got a problem. What now? The patient. The Vin matriarch. She's awake. Ruiz blinked. What? She's awake. And she says she knows how to beat them. In the medical bay, Dr. Vargas stared at the alien woman strapped to the gurney. The Vin's 6 eyes gleamed like polished obsidian, her chitinous skin rippling with bioluminescent patterns. A translator bot hovered nearby, its synthetic voice flat. The ship Gilded Edict, the Vin said. I know it. I served aboard before. Vargas leaned closer. You were a pirate. Slave. Engineer. The Vin's mandibles clicked. Their sensor array, thermal only, blind to electromagnetic. If you cloak heat signature, they cannot see. Vargas's breath caught. She grabbed her comm, Captain. Shut down life support. Everything non-essential. Make us invisible. Doctor, people will freeze. Not before we fire. A pause. Then, understood. The mercy of Sol went dark. Silent. Cold. Life support sputtered offline. Gravity flickered. Frost crept across bulkheads like skeletal fingers. 1,500 souls held their breath. Pascal Ruiz stood in the gunnery control room, hands locked on the targeting console. Through the external feed, he could see the Gilded Edict, a monstrous silhouette backlit by distant starlight, bristling with weapons that could crack continents. It hung there, 300,000 kilometers away, utterly still. Waiting. Range holding steady, Chen's voice crackled through his earpiece. They've stopped accelerating. I think they're scanning for us. Let them look, Ruiz muttered. His breath plumed white. The temperature had already dropped to freezing. His fingers ached. They won't see ghosts. Behind him, Yuki and Greaves huddled near the reactor controls, watching the power readout climb. 500%. 550. The magnetic containment field screamed, oscillating wildly, held together by duct tape and prayer. Ruiz, Greaves said slowly, if this thing goes critical, it won't. And if it does, then we'll die famous. Ruiz glanced back, grinning like a madman. Come on, Greaves. Where's that belter optimism? Left it in the belt. Yuki laughed, a thin, brittle sound. We're insane. You know that, right? Probably. The ship shuddered. Another boarding pod latched onto the hull. Ruiz heard the distant screech of cutting torches, the rattle of boots on metal. The pirates were inside now, carving through decks, hunting for the crew. Hunting for him. Not yet. Just a few more seconds. On the bridge, Captain Kane watched the tactical display. The Gilded Edict hadn't moved. Its weapons were armed, charged, ready, but it wasn't firing. Searching. Confused by the sudden disappearance of its prey. Dr. Vargas stood beside him, arms crossed, face pale. How long until the reactor destabilizes? 2 minutes. Maybe less. And if we fire, then we'll know if Ruiz is a genius or a lunatic. She smiled thinly. Can he be both? Kane didn't answer. On the screen, one of the boarding teams breached into Deck 4. Marines in salvaged armor, carrying weapons that hummed with lethal intent. They moved like predators. Efficient. Cruel. Chen, Kane said quietly. Seal all blast doors on Decks 3 through 6. Vent the compartments. The tactical officer hesitated. Sir, there are civilians. Do it. Chen's fingers moved. Somewhere in the ship, airlocks opened. Screams cut short. Silence rushed back in. Kane closed his eyes. Forgive me. Ruiz heard the venting. He didn't react. Couldn't afford to. The targeting solution was everything now. Velocity, trajectory, lead time. The Gilded Edict was massive, but space was bigger. A fraction of a degree error, and the shot would sail past harmlessly into the void. No pressure. Reactor at 600%, Yuki reported. Her voice trembled. Ruiz, the containment bottle is failing. We have maybe 30 seconds before. That's 30 seconds more than I need. He locked the targeting reticle on the dreadnought's midsection, where the VIN had said the sensor array clustered. One blind spot. One chance. Greaves. Transfer all power to the capacitors. Everything. This is it, then. This is it. The belter slammed his augmented fist down on the override. The lights died. The reactor howled, a sound like stars collapsing. And every joule of energy in the mercy of Sol funneled into the debris-clearing gun. The railgun woke up. Electromagnetic coils ignited along the 12-meter barrel, glowing cherry red, then white-hot, then beyond visible spectrum. Inside the breach, a single tungsten slug, 200 kilograms of dense, murderous metal, hung suspended in magnetic fields that could flatten mountains. Ruiz's finger hovered over the firing stud. His heart hammered. His vision narrowed. First, do no harm. But sometimes, harm was mercy. He pressed the button. The universe screamed. The railgun fired. Not with sound, but with raw physics. Electromagnetic forces ripped the tungsten slug forward, accelerating it from 0 to 20% light speed in less than a heartbeat. The barrel melted, vaporized, exploded in a plume of superheated metal. The mercy of Sol's spine cracked like a broken bone, twisting under forces it was never designed to withstand. And the slug flew. It crossed 300,000 kilometers in 1.5 seconds. From the bridge, Captain Kane watched the external feed. He saw the Gilded Edict hanging there, arrogant, invincible, saw its weapons charging, saw impact. The dreadnought didn't explode. Explosions were too slow. Instead, it ceased to exist. The tungsten slug punched through the hull at relativistic velocity, transferring kinetic energy equivalent to a small nuclear warhead. Metal vaporized. Armor boiled. The ship folded inward on itself, crumpling like paper in a fist. And then nothing. Just debris. Just dust. Just silence. Chen stared. My God. Kane exhaled. He hadn't realized he'd been holding his breath. Damage report. Dorsal spine compromised. Reactor offline. Life support offline. Chen's voice cracked. Captain, we're drifting. But we're alive. Yes, sir. Ruiz woke to pain. His ribs were broken, at least 2, maybe more. His left arm hung useless. Blood dripped from somewhere. He didn't care. Yuki was pulling him upright, shouting something he couldn't hear. Greaves stood nearby, laughing. Actually laughing. Tears streaming down his soot-blackened face. We did it, the belter said. Holy Ruiz. We did it. Ruiz nodded weakly. Told you. One shot. 3 days later, a Terran frigate arrived to find the Mercy of Soul adrift, crippled but intact. 1,500 souls rescued. No casualties except the enemy. Dr. Elena Vargas stood in the observation gallery once more, watching the stars. Behind her, patients slept in heated wards. Engineers worked to repair the spine. Life continued. She pressed her palm against the glass. Out there, somewhere in the black, floated the remains of the Gilded Edict. A warning. A memory. Even mercy has teeth. Captain Kane joined her. They're calling us heroes. We're not heroes, Elena said quietly. We're survivors. Isn't that the same thing? She smiled. Maybe. The Mercy of Soul, unarmed, unarmored, its spine cracked and its railgun melted, drifted peacefully through the void. Behind it, a graveyard of pirate ships marked the edge of human space. Ahead, the endless dark waited. Ruiz sat in the medical bay, letting a nurse wrap his ribs. Yuki was asleep in the next cot, her face peaceful for the first time in days. Greaves had gone back to the reactor room, already planning repairs. "Hey, Doc," Ruiz called as Vargas passed by. "Next time someone asks if we're a hospital ship, what should we say?" Elena paused. She looked at the red cross painted on the bulkhead, then at the scars where the railgun had torn through the hull. "Say we're a hospital ship," she replied. "Say we're unarmed. Say we're protected by galactic law." She smiled, a thin, hard thing. "And if they don't believe us, say we have one more shot." Ruiz laughed, then winced. "Worth it." The Mercy of Soul continued its journey. Not to glory. Not to vengeance. Just to the next patient, the next rescue, the next chance to do no harm. But somewhere in the galaxy, other pirates heard the story. Other slavers checked their sensor sweeps twice. Because the hospital ship with no weapons had fired a railgun through a dreadnought's heart, and no one wanted to be the next lesson. Mercy had teeth. And those teeth were tungsten. 3 weeks after the battle, the Mercy of Soul limped into port at Titan Station. Its spine was still cracked. Its railgun was a melted ruin. The red cross on its flank was scarred by shrapnel. But it arrived on its own power, and its 1,500 souls walked off on their own feet. The galaxy called them heroes. The newsvids called it the miracle of Kepler 7. The Galactic Council issued a formal commendation. Dr. Elena Vargas refused every interview. Captain Kane submitted a report that was 3 sentences long. Marco Ruiz went back to welding. 6 months later, a new pirate coalition formed in the outer reaches. Their leaders gathered in a smoke-filled conference room on an uncharted asteroid, discussing ship manifests and weak targets. Someone mentioned the Mercy of Soul. The room went silent. "Relax," said a scarred mercenary. "That was a fluke. A hospital ship can't do that again." "Are you sure?" asked another. No one answered. The Mercy of Soul never fired its railgun again. The weapon was dismantled, its remains stored in a memorial case on the observation deck. But the story spread. Every pirate in the black heard it. Every slaver checked their scanners twice before approaching a medical vessel. Because a hospital ship with no weapons had fired a shot across the bow of the galaxy itself. Years later, Dr. Vargas stood in the observation gallery one last time. She was retiring. Her replacement, a young woman with eager eyes, stood beside her. "Is it true?" the new doctor asked. "The railgun story?" Elena looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the debris of the Gilded Edict still drifted. A warning, a memory. "It's true," she said. "But that's not the point." "What is the point?" Elena turned. "The point is that we were a hospital ship. We had 1,500 patients. We had no weapons, no armor, no reason to survive. And we chose to fight." She smiled. "Not because we wanted to. Because we had to." The new doctor nodded slowly. "When they come for you," Elena continued, "remember that. Remember that mercy is not weakness. Remember that the unarmed can still be dangerous." She pressed her palm against the glass. "And if you have to, find a welder named Ruiz. He'll know what to do. The Mercy of Soul still sails. Its spine has been repaired. Its red cross still gleams. It carries no railgun, no weapons of any kind. But every ship in the black knows, if you fire on that vessel, you will not be the first. And you might not survive to be the last. Mercy has teeth. Always has. The galaxy just forgot. The Mercy of Soul still sails. Its spine has been repaired. Its red cross still gleams. It carries no railgun, no weapons of any kind. But every pirate in the black knows the story. Elena Vargas retired to a small clinic on Mars. She delivered babies and stitched wounds and never spoke of the battle unless asked. When asked, she said, "I was a doctor. I did my job." Marco Ruiz went back to welding. He never sought recognition, never gave interviews. But when young engineers asked about the shot, he would smile and say, "One's all you need." Captain Kane took command of a new vessel, a military frigate this time. He named it the Mercy's Teeth. Some called it morbid. He called it a reminder. The Gilded Edict still drifts. Its wreckage marks the edge of human space like a tombstone. Other pirates have come and gone. Some have tested the Mercy of Soul. Some have not returned. The galaxy learned a lesson that day. Not about weapons. About will. A hospital ship with no armor and no guns had fired a railgun through a dreadnought's heart. Not because it wanted to. Because it had to. Mercy has teeth. Always has. The galaxy just forgot. Now it remembers. The Mercy of Soul still sails. Its mission hasn't changed. Heal the sick. Shelter the lost. Rescue the fallen. But somewhere in its logbook, in the sealed section that only captains can read, there is a single entry. If fired upon, do not run. Do not surrender. Aim for the blind spot and make your one shot count. Below it, in different handwriting, it worked. And below that, a final line, once is enough. The stars are cold. The void is vast. And somewhere in the dark, a hospital ship continues its rounds. Unarmed. Unarmored. Unforgotten. Mercy has teeth. And those teeth are tungsten.